Hello.
Hey, do you hear me now?
Now that's okay. Perfect.
Excellent. Hey, do you know what? But basically, um, my laptop broke on my way here on the aeroplane. The screen's completely smashed.
Oh, so
So I've just
are
found
you
this old laptop.
are you in Spain?
I'm in Spain now, yeah,
Nice.
and I'm on a mountain, so my Wi-Fi is terrible and
Yeah,
my
no worry.
laptop's broken.
No,
But
don't.
luckily, I'm here and I found my old laptop, but it's not compatible with these.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but fine. We're here now.
yeah. So David, thank you so much for your time. It's a huge pleasure for me being here talking to you. It's like I've been waiting for this for 5 years since Wishes. So
Oh
finally we
wow,
are here.
that's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for reaching out, man. Like it's an honor
Now, so
always.
how's everything during this pandemic times?
Um, yeah, I mean, like really, it's been a really strange time. I think for everyone in the world. Like it's just been quite an unnerving, uncertain, um, you know, worrying time for everyone. I think like for me personally, I've been quite lucky because I've been with my little family and I've been able to continue my writing and doing all of that stuff and hanging out with my little boy and you know just being at home has been quite nice for me. But yeah, just trying to sort of come to terms with the uncertainty of just what's happening in the world has been quite strange. But I think what's nice is that it's kind of in a way it's kind of a unifying experience for everyone, like because everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone's kind of not entirely sure. So yeah.
So and at least you have time to be with Natalia and with your son, which is
Yeah.
he's absolutely adorable. We can see during the
Yeah.
photos you post, the videos.
Yeah.
So and what kind of changes you have made because of these times that we are living? Any changes in date releases, strategies?
I mean, yeah, there's been like at first, I mean, the music was supposed to come out a while ago.
Hmm.
And I think once we started realizing what was happening in the world, it was hard to sort of imagine how we could do it. Like, how do you promote a record and how do you tour? How do you get out and do radio? How do you do interviews? How do you do anything? All of the normal things that you would do to promote an album. And I think, obviously, like you said, my first album came out in 2015. So for me, it was a big moment. Um, so I think at first we decided to sort of maybe delay things slightly. But ultimately, I think it's important to carry on. And I think with music, music is something that brings people together and unifies people. And my music that I make is kind of all based around, emotion and trying to share my feelings with people. And I think really now is as good a time as any to be sharing the kind of music that I make, and actually any kind of music. I think as long as, it took me a while to come to terms with the fact that I wouldn't be able to like tour and go out and do radio promo and go out and do TV and all that kind of stuff, which is obviously what we were gearing up towards after all this time. It was going to be, the big comeback. But I think actually in hindsight now, I'm just grateful. I'm just super grateful that I could carry on releasing and doing my thing. And actually it's been really nice. I think it's been it's just been different. I think it's really cool to like find new ways of doing things and new ways of reaching people and new ways of connecting with people. And we're sitting here on Zoom doing an interview. I mean, we might not have done that. Do you know what I mean? We might not have been able to do that. We might not have actually even connected. It's just all these different things happening, and I think it's cool. It's cool. I'm feeling positive about it.
That's nice. That's nice. So during this quarantine times, you posted a lot of videos performing covers with Natalia. And how
Yeah.
was that? How did you choose the songs?
Oh man, like that was so nice. Like yeah, we basically just wanted to find something to do that we'd be able to do together, that was creative, and that was going to give us an outlet every day to try and connect with people, rather than just like, because it would have been very easy for us to just bury ourselves away and write, or spend time just doing nothing. I think like the way we decided to do the songs was just, well, we started off just doing songs that we loved.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really nice, because actually we kind of reconnected with songs that we hadn't listened to in ages. And when you think about doing covers, you think about doing the songs you love, but then obviously what happened was people started requesting things and asking us to do certain songs. And then obviously, the Taylor Swift one that we did, which she tweeted and all that kind of stuff. We've been really into the Ryan Adams album of 1989.
Mm-hmm.
The one. So like, we love that record and we always listen to it. And so when people start requesting songs by like Taylor Swift, we think, okay, cool. Like, what would Ryan Adams do on this? You know what I mean? Like, how would what? Because we love that album so much, so we were like, yeah, let's get some harmonica. So it was like really nice to sort of like just try and be inspired by what we love and try and reinterpret these pop songs and stuff. And obviously, like, I've done that before and done covers before, but it was fun doing it every day. And we did like 40, I think, in the end.
Yeah.
And there were tears and tantrums, and there was lots of joy, and it was quite hard at times, because once you commit to doing something, I'm the kind of person who wants to actually complete the task. I want to do it. So if I say I'm going to do a cover every day, that's what I'm going to do. So even on the days where it was like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't even remember the first chord of this song, we just ended up doing it. And then once we did it and it was done, it just felt so good. It was lovely.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch. I can say.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah,
And it's nice. It was nice when little Louis got involved.
Yeah. So we're going to speak, of course, about your new EP.
Yeah.
I also have a few questions from your fans in Brazil. But before anything, I'd like to show you what I have here. So I can say that I'm a fan. So I do have an EP from the Turning Back Around that you released in 2015, but I have also this one.
Oh, wow.
Main one, which was in 2014. Do you listen to your old stuff?
I actually really like listening to the really older stuff. I like listening to sometimes when I'm feeling uninspired, or if I'm feeling a little bit like I have writer's block or something, I like to think back to those days, 5-6 years ago, when there was no intention, or there was no kind of like pressure or deadline. Mm-hmm. I was just writing songs then, and actually with no real intent for anyone to hear them at first, especially on the Morning EP and my first EP, which was Raise Your Love. So when I'm feeling a little kind of like I've got nothing to say, or I don't really know what to say, I just think back to then, and I'm like, well, what was I writing songs about then? And I kind of just remember why I started doing it, and I remember what I was writing songs about, and I remember why I love it. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when you get signed to a record label and you start feeling the pressure of like, oh shit, I've got to do this. I've got to make this the best thing anyone's ever heard in their lives. And then you just think to yourself, well, actually, no, I've just got to write meaningful music that I believe in. And sometimes listening back to those old EPs, it reignites the flame, and I can sort of like find another way in, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and the new tracks that you released this year, they are absolutely amazing. I'm Not
Thank
Okay,
you.
it's my favorite, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so
So,
much.
so the new EP is coming out this week, right?
Yeah, I've
So,
kind of lost track of all time, date, everything. It's crazy. But yeah, on Friday.
yeah. So, what you can say about it?
So there's going to be another new song on there
Mhm.
called Every Turn, which I love. I collaborated on that song with a guy called Rich Cooper, who I wrote Love You Sober with.
Mhm.
So we wrote those two songs in the same kind of bit of studio time. And then there's going to be an acoustic version of Love You Sober on there. And yeah, basically, I'm just like really proud of this little body of work. It's kind of got this narrative through it. And it kind of, I was just kind of hoping that with these 4 songs, it just kind of gives a little insight into where I've been, what I've been doing, like my trouble that I've gone through, and just trying to find myself again, and just like trying to figure out what I want to do next. And I think just the narrative of the songs and the direct nature of the lyrics and all that kind of stuff that I've maybe slightly ventured away from my first record, hopefully in a good way. Sonically, it's a bit more direct. Lyrically, it's a bit more direct. So this EP just stands as a kind of like, hey, I'm here again. I've just been away for a while, and this is where I've been. This is the music. And, you know, there's so much more to come. I think there's going to be another single quite quickly after the EP. And then we'll gauge what's happening in the world. And I don't really like the idea of releasing a full-length album whilst we can't all come together and celebrate music and play live and all that kind of stuff. So I think what's best for me to do is just to keep on releasing songs and keep, you know, doing these kinds of things and all that kind of stuff. But the EP is very much just a little calling card, just to sort of, I mean, I wish that we were supposed to be touring and all that kind of stuff, and I wish that could have happened. But I think what I love is that it's become this kind of just little reintroduction. And I hope everyone there from the first album is still there. And this is my kind of like, hey guys, it's me, I'm back. This is where I've been. This is what I've been doing. I hope you understand the songs, and I hope you hear what I'm saying. And then soon enough, there'll be an album and another single and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm just excited for people to have it, and to have it. There's going to be 4 songs and then an acoustic version of one of the songs. And it's just it's like those first EPs, the ones that you've got there. And it's like, I love those little collections of songs and just what they mean. And sometimes so for example, on the Morning EP, there's a song called Bloom on there, which I love. And I kind of wrote it in the studio and wrote this little poem.
Mhm.
And my friend was there playing drums, and we just wrote the song and recorded it straight away. And it's become this song. And it was in a TV show. I can't remember which one, but someone tweeted about it. And I was just like, oh man, I forgot about that song. I completely forgotten about that song. Like, I wrote that song in 2014, and it's just out there in the ether now. And I'd forgotten about it. And then someone will remind me of it. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, I love that song, you know?
Mhm.
So I want this EP to just be this like thing, you know, that people can hold, and like, yeah. And I love all the artwork, and I like all the little backstories I'm doing for each song. I'm just letting everyone in on all of it, and just trying to really go in deep and just say, yeah, this is where I've been.
So, and what are the stories behind the new songs? So, like, you like to creating an atmosphere in all of
Yeah.
your songs and in everything that you produce. But the path is not always easy. So you
Yeah.
you struggled with a few things during these times. So
Yeah.
what can
So
you say
like,
about
I
them?
think basically, I think like most artists, you know, you have something that you want to express, and often you don't really know what it is, but you know that there's something burning inside you that you can't get out. And it's like, I'm trying to figure out why I feel a certain way. I'm trying to figure out why I'm quite self-destructive. I'm trying to figure out why I'm so doubtful. I'm trying to figure out why I'm so anxious. I'm trying to figure out why I run away from problems. I'm trying to figure out why I hurt the people I love. I'm trying to figure out why I, you know, I'm always just running from something, I guess. And I think in trying to sort of like answer all these questions at the very beginning, it sent me into a bit of a dark place. And I got very confused with what was going on. And I was working with some people in my team that I wasn't getting along very well with at all, who were trying to push me in a certain way, and I wasn't happy going in that direction. So it sent me into a bit of a rut and into a bit of writer's block and into a bit of a situation where I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, because I'm signed to a major record label. I've got a little baby now, and that's just like the most incredible thing ever. And I want to make him proud, and I want to, you know, do things that are going to make him proud. And, you know, that was just like, okay, shit, I don't think I'm on the right path. I need to like figure this out and go back to what I do. And that goes hand in hand with that thing I was saying about like going back to what I did in 2014 and remembering why I'm doing this in the first place. And so I was quite low and not really sure about what was going to happen. And then one of my friends called me up, and he was like, "What are you doing? You know, what's going on? I haven't heard from you for months. Like, you haven't released any music. You haven't done anything. Like, what's happening?" And I'm like, well, "I'm doing stuff, but I don't really know what I'm doing." And he was just like, "Look, man, I'm not letting you fuck this up." That's what he said. And he was like, "Leave it with me." And he went off and called my long-term collaborator, James Kenosha, who I did my first album with. And then between them, they just sort of like devised this plan to come and scoop me up from my apartment, where I was just spending most of the time in my pajamas watching Netflix. And they came and picked me up and drove me to the studio, and we spoke about everything, and we talked about what it was, why I wasn't happy and what I could do to change it. And we were like, okay, cool. We've got 4 days in the studio. And I was just like blown away by their love and their kind of like, why do you want to help me so much? This is crazy. Because these guys have done so much for me. And I'm always just kind of second guessing everything and doubting everything and wondering if it's good enough and, you know, all this kind of stuff. But yet they were still there trying to make sure that I was all right and make sure that I could do it. And then obviously I've got Natalia there as well, who's just always supporting me, always telling me that she believes in me. And even when I'm feeling like really down, she's just like, come on, you can do it. And so the first song I wrote in that studio time was This Shouldn't Work. And I started thinking about the night I met Natalia and how at the time I was in a very similar kind of place. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anyone believed in me. I didn't know anyone loved me. I didn't know anyone wanted me. So to meet Natalia at that time in my life, I was just like, whoa, what's this? This is really weird. Like, you love me. This is crazy. And I love you. Like, this is really like surreal to me. And so I started writing a song about that night and how one night can change the rest of your life. And because of the way Jack and James helped me so much, I had that line, "I never knew I had love, now I know." And I just knew that I had to write that line into this song. And it was kind of that, I wrote that song and it became this landmark moment where I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to do an EP and this is going to be the first song on the EP. This is going to be the song that kind of is my realization, like, oh shit, like I am loved. I am wanted. I am good enough. These people are around me and I'm there for them, you know? And I'm sure everyone feels like that sometimes. And you just need those people to tell you that it's all right. Don't worry. I'm here. Let's do this. So that was like my first thing. And then I started on this journey of like, oh, what was the journey of mine and Natalia's relationship blossoming? And so then I wrote Every Turn, which is a song that's on the EP that you'll hear on Friday. And that's about literally the first line of the song is, I was working in a store unfolding t-shirts for alcohol money. And it was like, I was working in American Apparel with Natalia, unfolding t-shirts every day. And that was my life for alcohol money. Do you know what I mean? I was working in a store, folding t-shirts every day so I could go out on a Friday night and get wasted with my friends. And then along comes Natalia. And I'm like, oh shit, like things are changing now. So I wrote a song about that. And then obviously you journey through life, and then, you know, there's issues that happen. And I went through a really self-destructive period, and which is when I wrote Love You Sober. And then I'm Not Okay was just basically my call for help, you know, just like, it was my call for help, but it was also my message to anyone else experiencing anything similar. Like, speak, talk to your friends, talk to the people that you love. They're going to love you more if you tell them you're not okay and ask for help than if you just continue to self-destruct and hurt people. So yeah, you see the narrative running through. It's just kind of a kind of little backstory of the last few years of my life, basically, in 4 songs.
Yeah. So if you needed to choose one as your favorite, which one?
I mean, it's a really hard question because I love them all for very different reasons, but I do think I'm Not Okay is like one of my favorite songs I've written ever. I really love that one. And I hope it's, you know, I know it's not a radio song and all this kind of stuff, but I really hope like over time people hear that song, because to me it's just one of those ones that I would know that I would want to hear that if I heard it.
So, and how was the process to convert those feelings into music? How was the process creating music?
I mean, it was quite cool because, like, obviously I had the thing with Jack and James, so that was very natural. But a lot of what I've been doing recently has been collaboration, which I didn't really do on my first album. And I'm Not Okay was actually an idea I'd had for a long time, just a little chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And I met this guy out in Soho in London. I was introduced to him by a friend, and he was in the band Uncle. I don't know if you know Uncle. I don't know if they're big in Brazil. But he did their last 3 records with them. So he produced them and wrote them with James Lavelle, and his name's Jack Leonard. And yeah, we just met in a pub. We were introduced by a friend, and I was like, oh man, this guy's so cool. And I think he thought the same about me. And we were like, yeah, let's go for a beer. So we went for a beer on our own a few weeks later, spoke about music loads, and just had this common understanding. And I was talking to him about the idea for the song, and he was like, you got to come to my studio. Let's do this song. So we went to the studio, and we spent like 2 days just jamming around this idea. And it went right from being like a kind of big Coldplay style, like epic stadium song, right down to me on a guitar. And then we were like, I don't know how we should do this song. You know, there was lots of experimenting, and it was like this with every song on the EP, just lots and lots of experimenting, throwing paint at the wall. Do you know what I mean? Do you know that expression? It's like throwing paint at the wall and seeing what sticks. And we ended up basically just making the most full, huge soundscape production, and then chipping away at it and just peeling everything back. And then mostly what you're left with is like a vocal and a piano. And it's like, yeah, that's what it needs to be. Just a vocal and a piano, really direct and really poignant vocal production, so everyone can hear every word. And the vocals also took a lot of time, because it was important for people to understand like exactly what I was saying. So, you know, the lyrics were tweaked every now and then, and we would slowly carve out little parts in the lyrics. And it was like that with all the songs, just a lot of experimenting, a lot of soundscapes. And then when it came to finishing, it was just basically just peeling away the layers and stripping it back. And yeah, just trying to find the best way of delivering a really direct story, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So our website, the name of our website is Música Inspira, which means music inspires. So how does the music inspire you?
How does music inspire me in general?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really weird because like music inspires me in so many different ways, and I'm inspired by so many different types of music. And I think like, you know, there's that thing of like driving along on a road trip and having beautiful scenery and listening to something that just like perfectly matches the sound, the scenery. Mm-hmm. So it's like almost like you're in a movie and you're kind of like gazing out the window, like looking around. And I think that's the kind of thing that I love to do, like driving around or being on a train and having something in my headphones. And I mean, I love melancholy music. I love ballads, and I'm really into like Mazzy Star and Jeff Buckley and Anthony and the Johnsons and Leonard Cohen and, you know, and Lowe and Cocteau Twins and Beach House and Grizzly and all those kind of left field bands that just have these huge soundscapes. And that's where I find my inspiration, you know, in that kind of soundscapey, left field, no structure kind of music. You know, but then I'm also inspired by, like, I've been listening to Halsey a lot recently. I love her. I think she's actually amazing. And I love everything she's doing. So I listen to a lot of pop music too, but I think the things that really inspire me are like, just like really sad, like soundscapes and really sad, like ballads.
And what is the perfect creative environment to you?
Open space. I mean, I love it here. This is where we are in Spain. Let me try and show you the window of where we are. This is really cool. This is our bedroom. It's where we get the best views. But like, we're just on this mountain, and it's just like, yeah, that's Natalia's parents' place, and it's just really stunning. But I love being able. Like, I did a lot of work in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York, and that was pretty mad. You know, just like being in the woods and just like nature. I think nature, and just what I really love is being able to sit outside and just play really loud. You know, like sitting by the swimming pool with an amplifier plugged in outside really loud with loads of reverb on it. Like, there's just something so amazing about that. I don't like being in in like a little box room. I mean, in London we have like writing rooms. And it's just like, what is this? You know what I mean? You're like, you pay for a writing room and you get there and there's like, it's just a room with no windows, loads of like soundproofing on the walls. So like, you can't even hear your fingers click. It's like, well, I don't understand. Like, I can't even hear my voice travel. So I don't like that. It has to be like nature and open light, natural light, open space, you know?
Yeah, interesting. So I have a few questions, as I mentioned to you, from fans. The first one is from Jefferson Brito. He wants to know if these isolation times have inspired you to write, if you're writing right now.
Oh God, they have so much. So much. I think one of the most incredible things that I think this isolation period has shown me, and I think having spoken to lots of my friends, it's meant the same thing to them too. But like, it's that kind of, it really shows you like the importance of balance and life balance. And okay, cool. Like, why am I putting so much energy into this when this doesn't matter? This thing doesn't matter. Like, it's draining me. And also like family, spending time with them. Like, oh my God, that's so beautiful and so inspiring. And I think a lot of like change is happening. So I actually feel like the best art comes from change, cultural change, personal change, anything change though. I think that's what is happening right now. And I think that inspires artists to create. So yeah, I think this time is inspiring me a lot.
So change could be a really good name for a song or for an album.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And if I call my album Change, I'll be sure to credit you.
Yeah, that's okay. So now the message is from Roger Diaz. He wants to know which artist would you like to work with?
That's a really good question. I guess like I really love. I don't know. Like it's tricky. I mean, I've worked with a lot of great artists already. I'd really love to do a collaboration with someone big who's in the real pop world. You know, like I love the idea of collaborating. Like I mentioned earlier, like someone like Halsey, or like even Marshmallow. Do you know what I mean? Like that's so different to what I do, but like not really. Like it's still really atmospheric. Like I love the collaboration he did with Khalid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's beautiful, and I love the new one he's done with Halsey. And he did that one with Bastille. And I think I've done collaborations in more like electronic music, and I think as far as EDM is concerned, I really love Marshmallow. I think he's really, really great, and so I'd love to do something like that. In terms of like singer-songwriters, I mean, I would love to collaborate with someone like Feist, Bon Iver.
Yeah, that's cool.
I would love to collaborate with the National, you know, on a song sonically. So yeah, the list is endless, but yeah, it's got my brain ticking.
Yeah. Well, now let me see. We're going. Well, so which is a completely masterpiece for me. I remember.
Thank you so much.
Writing an article about this album 5 years ago, because was so raw, so emotional. That was a really great album. So how your life has changed since Wishes?
I mean, I think when I did Wishes, it was just like this huge whirlwind experience. I hadn't done anything on that level before, so I was just kind of like, oh shit, I'm just in this now. This is crazy, touring around the world, meeting amazing people, you know, playing huge shows, doing all these great things, and then suddenly all of that stopped, and it was like, okay, cool, now you've got to write a new album. And it was just mad because I was suddenly in this position where I was like, okay, cool, so now that this is just my job, like I'm just doing music. And that took me a long time to get my head around, because feeling like I was good enough to do that in the first place just gave me this huge like idea of like imposter syndrome. But really, it's just afforded me the most incredible opportunities to travel, to work with my idols, to be able to have the freedom to just do what I want, basically. It's been absolutely unbelievable. And I think only during the last few months have I realized how, you know, just how lucky I am, because when the brakes are put on and you can't do the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you have all this time to reflect, rather than panic and be worried and be anxious and be like thinking about, oh, I haven't done this, I've got to finish this, I've got to finish this song, I've got to get this done, I've got to get that done. You know, if you're not worrying about all that stuff, you just go, oh my God, the last few years have been amazing. Not only have I had this amazing like family, I now have this amazing family. I've traveled around the world and I've written these songs that have afforded me to do these incredible things. And so, yeah, I'm just like truly, truly grateful. It's just been absolutely wonderful. I guess like the one place I haven't really been is America and South America. So like that's on the list next. So Natalia's mum is actually Peruvian. She's from Lima.
Nice.
So yeah, I really want to get to South America and do some touring around there, you know?
Well, the question is from Caio Bileski. We are talking about performing and being on touring. So last tour was in Asia 2 years ago. So do you miss being on the road?
I really do. I'm actually watching. I really, really, really do. I love traveling so much. So like last week, I actually had the opportunity to go to Germany.
Mhm.
And, you know, having been in isolation for 3 months, and a lot of people in the UK are not, they're not really following the rules. And that's been bugging me a lot. And I think, so personally, I have been staying indoors. Do you know what I mean? Like, and just, I understand that I'm lucky having my family, but like, so I'm not exactly isolating alone, but what I've really missed is traveling and touring. So having the opportunity last week to go to Germany was just like, oh my God, I missed this so much. And Germany's an hour flight, you know what I mean? It's so near to the UK. And then obviously there was these new rules that were like, you can't come back into the UK. If you come back into the UK, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm on mainland Europe. I'm just going to go to Spain, which is where my in-laws live, my mother and father-in-law. So I'm just here chilling now until I can go back to the UK. But traveling for me is just, it's one of the best things about doing this. And Asia was just like another world. It was just so beautiful and an incredible experience. And I'm actually watching Parts Unknown, the Anthony Bourdain series on Netflix at the moment. And it's such a beautiful series. Well, you know, there's like 5 series or whatever, but it's such a beautiful TV show. And it just reminds me of like, especially when I was in Asia, because I think it was like the promoter knew that I was in I'd never been to Asia before. So he knew that I was going to want to see stuff. So he went out of his way to make sure that there was like a day in between every show.
Nice.
So he could take me around and show me stuff and take me to, this guy has been, he was an American guy, but he'd been doing tours in Asia for like 7 or 8 years or something like that. So he knew everywhere really, really well. And he had the best restaurants, like local restaurants, you know, side of the road, kind of like Anthony Bourdain says in his TV show, like plastic table and chairs at the side of the road with a little bowl of something where you don't really know what it is, but you're just enjoying it. And it's just like, that kind of stuff just blows my mind. So like, man, I do miss being on the road so much. I miss my family when I'm on the road, but like, it's such a beautiful part of what I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So I read once that you felt anxious to perform, being on the stage. Do you still feel that?
I do feel anxious, yeah. I think really what it was, like when I first started, it was more to do with singing than anything. Like for me, like getting on stage was always the most amazing feeling, and I've always loved it. Like I played in bands before I became a solo artist, and I played bass in a band, I played guitar in a band, and I loved it so much. I would be performing my ass off. Do you know what I mean? Like that was what I loved doing. But singing was always like terrifying to me. Like I would never, ever, ever sing. I would never dream of it. And I don't really know why. But it wasn't until, 2014 when I wrote those first songs, or late 2013, 7 years ago, that I started to sing, but only for me, only in my bedroom, only on my own. I would never sing to anyone else. And it was only when I started tentatively showing people the music and being like, oh, I'm not really a singer, but like, just check this out, but don't tell anyone, don't share it with anyone. I've got emails that I sent to my dad, like in 2013, like, Dad, listen to this on headphones. Don't show anyone, like, listen to it really loud because I'm rubbish at like recording. Like, don't show anyone, you know what I mean? Like, so it was the singing thing really. But I think once I did it once, I was like, that wasn't bad. Like, that's fine. But I do still get nervous, but I think it's good to be nervous. I think it's good to, if you became too complacent and like thought you were really good and the best person ever, you'd probably end up not being. So I think it's good to have a little nerves.
So the question now is from Lucas Tosta. Have you had any idea of how many fans you have in Brazil, since there are a lot of them posting when you're streaming something, that they are sending messages, Brazilian flags, and come to Brazil?
I have no idea. I have literally no idea. And like, it's really funny because I do get a lot of messages from people in Brazil. And it's one of those things that I sort of just, when I get a message or when I see it, I'm like, oh wow, that's so cool. But like, I've got absolutely no gauge of like what that might be or how many people there actually are. You know, going back to the Asia tour that I did, I was actually really nervous about that because I was like, I don't know what's going to be like. But then the first show, there was like a queue all the way around the block for people like waiting to get into the venue. And I was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. Like, what the hell? But, you know, being in London and, you know, in Europe, it's really hard for me to understand like what's going on over there or who knows my music or what's going on. But man, I'm just so grateful that there's anyone out there listening to my music in Brazil. It's just like beautiful and it's amazing, which is why I'm so grateful to be doing this interview, you know?
So last month, you posted an open message about to fight against racism as the Black Lives Matter movement. So the question is from Will Santos. He wants to know what we can do right now to spread a message and be anti-racist. You also mentioned that you're raising your son to be like anti-racist.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I think it's one of those strange moments in life where you kind of realize what's been happening around you and you kind of have to stop, take a breath and go, wow, you know, like we've got to do something about this. And not only do we need to change what we're doing, we need to hold ourselves accountable for not doing more already. And I think as far as I'm concerned with my own behaviors and my own family, I think I've just been trying to read as much as I can and watch as many documentaries as I can. And obviously what is the most amazing thing about this awareness that's being raised at the moment is just Natalia and I talk about BLM and all of what's going on in the news every day now. Every morning we wake up and have a coffee and talk about what we've just read on the news. And we talk about how messed up it is that we're only all just talking about it now. And it's our own fault. Like, and I think sometimes it's really easy to sort of think that someone else is going to deal with these problems. But one of the things I've found really heartbreaking is just hearing these everyday stories. Obviously there's huge, really important national, international kind of heartbreaking stories about, you know, George Floyd and, you know, Breonna Taylor and all these things about people who have suffered this huge, huge injustice, and it's disgusting what's happening. And then you start delving deeper into it and you realize the idea of like systemic racism is something I think we should be teaching in schools. It's like, it's not saying that us as white people are, you know, individuals. David Rhodes is responsible for the death of, you know, X person. But like, it's saying that you have to speak up against it. It's saying, we're not saying it's your fault, but we're saying that you have to stand up and speak against it. You have to be anti-racist. It's not enough to say like, well, it's not my problem. It's everyone's problem. If you don't agree with it, speak up against it. And I think in terms of little Louis and raising our son in that way, we're just very conscious about what he's taking in and what he's absorbing. The first thing we did was check, okay, what books are on his bookshelf? Okay, we're chucking that one out. We're chucking that one out. We're getting rid of Peppa Pig. We're getting rid of all these things. And we bought a bunch of inclusive books from Amazon. We checked what cartoons we were going to let him watch. And I think we checked what we were going to expose him to. Do you know what I mean? Just in terms of like that little early developing mind.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just about us checking ourselves and making sure that we're projecting the right things as parents, you know?
Well, and what are the plans for the future?
Yeah, so like, got an EP on the 10th of July, and then I think I'm going to do another single like quite quickly after that. And then when I'm back in London, I'm just going to spend a lot of time there's so many songs that I've written now for my album. And I think it's time for me to just like, okay, which ones are going to be on it? Like, let's finally decide, because there's so many. I'm just going to decide those songs, and then I'm just going to like put the finishing touches on them. And then as soon as we know what's happening with touring and scheduling and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully we'll get a better picture of that soon. And I guess all we can really do is pray that, you know, the COVID-19 situation will start to improve, and they'll hopefully find some sort of vaccine or whatever they need to do, the scientists. But like, yeah, so as soon as that clears up, then I can just start touring again and get an album out, hopefully as soon as I can, you know?
Yeah. So, and to finish, any message to your Brazilian fans?
Oh man, my message to my Brazilian fans, that if there are any, is just that I'm so grateful for your support. Keep listening to the music, keep sharing it, and hopefully one day, hopefully next year, we can all meet. And yeah, lots and lots of love to you.
Yeah, nice. So David, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations again for your music. It's like amazing. I really enjoy, and I know that there's a lot of people here that enjoy also. So all the best to you, to Natalia, of course, to your son.
Yeah.
And so hope to meet you here or in the UK or whatever. So
thank you so much, man. I appreciate it so much. Honestly, it's awesome. When you reached out about the interview, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do an interview with you. Yeah, it just feels good. Like Brazil feels like a place that would be quite good for me to come over and do something, for sure, man.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. So thank you
so much. Thank you, brother.
Have a good night.
Take it easy.
You too. Bye-bye. Kisses.
Bye.